guess I'm starting. All right, good evening, everybody. Wow. I can tell you're new parents to Staples because you stopped talking right away and were paying avid attention. By the time you have sophomores and juniors and seniors, you'll be like they are in assemblies, and we'll have to do that 3 times. I'm James D'Amico, principal of Staples High School, and I want to welcome you to 8th grade transition night. And for many of you, welcoming you to Staples for the first time, and some of you are return customers, and we're happy to have all of you. We're really thrilled about, I know Mr. Francis has been meeting with your students at the middle schools. He'll be their assistant principal next year, and we're really excited to get off on a great foot with you and take all of the mystery out of coming to high school, especially, like I said, if it's for the first time. I'm really just here to say hello. In a minute, we will turn you over to the capable hands of our fantastic guidance department, who really do a phenomenal job every day of taking care of the widest assortment of needs for your students that you could possibly imagine. So you and your students are going to be in great hands next year here at Staples. Before we get to the guidance program, I just want to introduce for some brief remarks Dr. Colleen Palmer, our superintendent of schools.
Thank you. Good evening. I am on my way to another meeting, but I said, oh my goodness, we have the parents of the incoming freshmen here. I just have to stop by and say hello. You are very special people. How many have freshmen for the first time? See, everyone else stayed home. In my career, I was a high school principal for more than a decade, and I was a high school guidance counselor. So this is near and dear to me this evening and this event, and making sure that we provide the most amazing welcome to your students. The transition to high school is one of the biggest transitions in a student's career, and I am just so proud of the guidance team that sits in front of me here this evening and is going to support you and your students on this amazing journey over the next 4 years. And it's going to fly by. And you have an administration here that is second to none. And I will tell you, I've had an opportunity to see many schools, many districts in our state and beyond. And I have come to know Staples to be the finest high school I've ever been associated with. So you are in a great place. You have a great team, and I want you to know whatever we can do. You're going to, you have building support, but central office is here to back you up in any way. Also, we are privileged to serve you and your students, and we are going to make sure the next 4 years are the most wonderful years for your students. So sit back, enjoy this presentation, take lots of notes, and there's a test at the end. Enjoy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Plunkett, Director of Guidance here at Staples, and it's also my pleasure to welcome you to our transition to high school night tonight. And to many of you, for those of you who have, your first child going to Staples next year, to our Staples community. I'd also like to acknowledge the 2 students who we had out in the auditorium lobby, Evelyn Stevens and Harrison Bernstein, who are part of our music program, and we're doing a fantastic job welcoming you as you come in. So you're going to first hear from each of the school counselors that make up our guidance department, and I'm going to ask them to stand up and introduce themselves, or I'll be introducing them. So we have Tom Brown, Leslie Hammer, Deb Slocum, Trish Howells, Christina Banks, Leslie Sporey, Kim Curran, PJ Washenko, and Christine Tallarico. Oh, and last but definitely not least, Vicki Capozzi. Also here, and who you'll be hearing from a little bit later in the program, we have several current 9th grade students who will be able to speak about their experience this year as they've transitioned to Staples and what that's been like for them. This program will be filmed tonight. We'll have that up on our website. If you go on the Staples website under guidance, if you have friends who weren't able to make it tonight, or if you'd like to tune back in again, you can certainly catch that. You're also able to get a lot more information on our website, any available resources that we have, the links to all of our other presentation videos, and other information about the principles behind what we do and our programs throughout your child's experience here at Staples. Although we'll certainly have plenty more time to get to that. Before we get on with the rest of the program, though, we do have one announcement about an upcoming event for your children that a couple of parents would like to make.
Hi.
Hi.
We just wanted to remind you about the 8th grade party that's happening tomorrow night. It's a party. It's not a dance or a mixer or a social.
Right, none of
It's a
those.
party between Bedford and Coley 8th graders, just so they can get to know each other, see some familiar faces, so when they go to Staples, it's not totally all unfamiliar people. And tickets are on sale at lunch tomorrow, one more day, $10 at both schools. And you want to tell them a little bit about the party?
Yes, this is 3 years in the making. It's a lot to bring 2 different schools, 2 different PTAs together in order to host an event like this. We are so excited to do it. It's been a great transition, just even for the moms, to get to know each other through this process. And we think it's going to be fantastic. We have a basketball Papa Shot, which I did not know what that is, but that's those dual racing basketballs. We have 2 of those. We have a DJ coming who's really fantastic and is well known. We have everything's going to be the photo booth, right? That's right, the photo booth with actual things that they can take away, not just digital. And we're going to have snacks, pizza, beverages. We're going to have the courtyard decorated and open. Not that they have to go out there if it's too cold, but it'll be just an option. And then and then everything will be in the cafeteria. And we're very, very excited about this. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for all the students. So
even if your kids are a little shy, just try to encourage them to come. And it's not dressy. You're encouraged to wear either Staples swag or just Staples colors.
or whatever makes
Or
you
whatever.
feel comfortable.
Yes.
Right. Yes, whatever makes them feel comfortable.
Okay.
So,
Oh, she's a
yeah,
question.
we have a question.
I was told by my son that when he bought his ticket today, it was not $10, but now $15 because it has like half a deadline or something.
It's 10.
It's still 10. It's still 10. No, they're $10 and you get the wristband. The wristband is your takeaway. So,
Just have him tell whoever took his 15 that they owe him 5.
yeah.
Okay. No.
Those are some future entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Okay.
organizing.
Thank you.
So we spent an hour this afternoon at Coley Town. We'll be back at Bedford tomorrow to meet with our 8th grade students, and it is amazing to hear some of the questions, and our wheels start to get turning when we hear a lot about the attendance policy and what the rule is around cell phones in class, and it's really an exciting opportunity for us to sort of get inside the minds of the students. So in my time at Staples, I've done probably 100 or so parent nights and enjoyed so much working with students around the transition to high school and from Staples to whatever is going to be coming their way after Staples. And each year, supporting students through these transitions is a significant part of what we do as counselors. Then a month or so ago, I had the completely surreal experience of going to a parent orientation for my own son, who's going to be starting kindergarten next year. And I'm sure many of you can remember back to that time, whether it was at Long Lots or in London or Saugatuck or out in San Francisco. And I know, at least for me, and I'm sure many of you can't help but think about where did that time go and how did we get here already? And are they going to be okay? This was a humbling moment for me, even having had the experience that I do as a counselor. And all I can say is that we recognize and value what this transition looks like for you and for your children. Second, the staff at Staples, teachers, administrators, counselors, everyone here in the building really do genuinely care about the well-being of each and every one of our kids. And at the same time, I think we're fortunate to have the perspective and experience that we do to know that indeed things are going to be okay. So we met, as I said, with about half of the children today at Coley Town, and we'll be meeting with the rest at Bedford tomorrow. They're excited, they're nervous, we know, about things like whether they'll have friends in their classes and what the lunch rotation looks like, and why students don't use their lockers here, and how they'll handle their work, and if they'll make a team. And yet what we hear from our 9th graders each and every year, and what I think you'll hear later tonight, is that year in, year out, yes, there are some bumps in the road, especially early on, but students really do find a way to manage these challenges. It's not such a bad thing that there are those bumps too. A big part of what we do is not only try to make the the process of adjusting to Staples as smooth as possible for our kids, but supporting them in developing the skills and habits of mind for when these types of things don't go according to plan. So we're excited to meet the 460 or so students that are going to be part of the class of 2022 from Staples High School, and to be partnering with you in that process as well. We hope that tonight's program gives you a sense of what life at the high school is like and how you as parents can help support your children through that time.
All right, good evening. My name is Christina Banks, and I'm going to discuss a little bit about some people to know here at Staples. We all stood up, so you can see that there's 11 counselors here, and each one of your children will be assigned to a counselor who would work with them for the 4 years that they're here at Staples. We'll be working with them in areas of, academics, personal, social, career and college preparation, those type of things. I know when they come in, we'll be here to support them if they have any difficulties in class, if they're looking to explore getting involved in activities, academic advising, any personal, family, peer conflicts that come up throughout the years that they're here. We'll be here to support them through those. And, you're going to be hearing more about the different guidance programs that we offer, starting when they come in ninth grade until they graduate. That'll be coming up in the presentation later on. We all work with a team of other staff as well. We work closely together to help support all of your children. So today at Coleytown, students met Mr. Francis, and he'll be there at Bedford tomorrow, who is the assistant principal that'll be working with them. He doesn't only work with them around discipline. He really does work hard throughout the 4 years to really get to know your children. Mr. Francis works closely with Mr. Jesse McCrae, who is going to be the ninth grade level assistant, who will be monitoring your students' attendance. So if you have any questions about their attendance or anything like that when they come here, Mr. McCrae is the person to contact. In addition, each counselor works on a team with a psychologist, with a social worker, and also school nurses. So those are also people that are available to support your children throughout their time here at Staples. We really do enjoy getting to know your students. We were all very excited when we left Coleytown today. That was only the beginning of the process to get to know them. Our goal is really for your children to feel comfortable when they come in, to be happy, and to enjoy their time here at Staples. So, thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Brown. So as noted, we already have started this process with some of the students. We went down to Coleytown today as the counseling team and introduced ourselves to the 8th graders there. Tomorrow we'll be doing the same at Bedford. So if you haven't already heard from your students, you can talk to them when you get home and say, hey, how was your counselor? And see what they say, if they remember which one was their counselor. In June, we will have individual meetings where the middle schoolers will come up and we'll go over all their schedules with them one-on-one. So we sit down with each student in our office, we look at what schedules, things they signed up for, and then we talk about if there's any problems that they had. So if there's something they want to change or an issue with the class they didn't get, we'll help work that out to make sure everything's buttoned up as much as it can be for the start of next year. And usually it's a good time to get to know them a little bit, ask a couple questions, see what they're excited about, what they're nervous about. Nice way for them to get to know who we are as well. And then in August, right before school starts, we have personalized tours for every incoming freshman. And what that means is they'll have one person meet them, a student in the school, and take them around the building with their schedule and show them where every class is. So they can kind of do like what the first day of school is going to be. Your first class is in this room, then your second class is this room, third class is this room. So when they do start the first day of school, they really know exactly where everything is. And then there's a nice little barbecue as well. So after the 8th grade party that's coming up, they'll have another time to get together again and celebrate starting high school together. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kim Curran, and I'm going to provide a snapshot of what guidance programs will occur in the next 4 years. So in guidance, we follow a developmentally appropriate guidance curriculum, and we intentionally design our program to meet students where they are in terms of their development as young people, both academically and emotionally. So it's really a balance between challenging them to move forward and supporting them where they are at this point in their lives. Every student will meet with his or her counselor both individually and in small groups each year that they're at Staples, and most students will meet with us much, much more than that, and we hope that they do. Students also participate in grade level specific programs through the College and Career Center every year. So for example, we just went into the sophomore classrooms and did a career interest profiler and a resume builder with all the sophomores. We offer a program for parents at the end of sophomore year, one midway through junior year, and one early on in senior year, each geared toward providing information about post-high school planning. The post-high school planning process is really embedded in everything that we do with your kids, starting with mapping out their course selection and talking with them about ideas, about careers and future education throughout their entire time here. But junior year is really when things get going. They do take the PSAT in October of their junior year, and eventually they'll take the SAT or the ACT in the spring. For those who decide that college isn't for them, and we have many of those students, we're in very close contact, and we really make sure they have the skills and resources to make informed decisions. High school will go really fast, and we're mindful of deadlines, and we really do not let kids fall behind where they're supposed to be. So although it's helpful to keep in mind of what's coming next, we really want to make an intentional effort to enjoy where they are right now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Hammer. The College and Career Center is really an amazing resource that we have. It's adjacent to the guidance suite, and the resources and materials in there are there to support the students through all the other guidance programs that we have. The space sees a lot of activity in the fall when our seniors meet with visiting college representatives, and throughout the school year it's also the site for many workshops related to supporting students through the college process and earlier on in understanding various career pathways that are available to them. Our younger students, the freshmen and sophomores, are most likely to use the College and Career Center when they're looking for information about summer programs or volunteer opportunities, jobs, or working papers once they've secured a job. And while these programs through the College and Career Center are really primarily for the use of our students, as parents, you can access a lot of information on our website that's put up by the College and Career Center. You can find that on the Staples Guidance webpage and then click on the College and Career tab. And then finally, I just wanted to say that this year we have a new coordinator in there. We're thrilled to have her. Her name is Ms. Teal Stoller, and she comes to us with a master's degree in school counseling as well as recent work experience at AOL and Indeed. So she's bringing current and really relevant insight into career paths, and she also understands and relates beautifully with our kids. Thanks.
Good evening, I'm Trish Howells, one of the school counselors, and I'm going to try to explain to you how our schedule works. Rest assured, your son or daughter will definitely get the hang of it faster than I think any of you will. So we work on an A through D schedule, so it's a 4-day cycle in which time the class will meet 3 times within that cycle. Given that there's a 5-day school week, typically a class will meet 4 times out of the week. Students are scheduled up to 8 courses in a day, but scheduled up to 8 courses in total, but on any given day, only 6 courses will meet. So that means 2 courses will drop on the given day. Typically, well, not typically, but how it works is basically the morning rotation is periods 1 through 4 will rotate all week, and then in the afternoon, periods 5 through 8 will rotate all week in the afternoon. The lunch will change based on the subject that the student is in. So, for instance, on an A day, during the lunch waves, which we have 1, 2, and 3, So just for instance, on an A day during period 5, if a student is in social studies, they may have lunch during the first lunch wave. But if they have English during period 6 on a B day, they might have lunch during the third lunch wave. So your student will get the hang of it. It's not anything too important, but something to note actually is that there is an iStaple app that the kids really do use. It has a lot of information on there. It tells the students what period they should be in, how many minutes are left in the period, and I believe that was designed by a student, wasn't it? Yeah. This is just a copy of the A through D schedule. So if you want to know what your student does have on a given day, you can look at this schedule, and this will tell you on what date, is it an A, B, C, or D day. And if there's any holidays or snow days, the schedule will just pick up from where it left off. So if we have a Monday as an A day and there's a holiday on Tuesday, then Wednesday will be a B day. I always mix that up. And then this last slide is about the credit requirements, which there are 25 credits. What you should know is that most students will graduate with many more than 25 credits. And we, as the counselors, do meet with your son and daughter every year to go over course selection. And in that process, we are making sure that they're on track for graduation. So there's never an issue with a student graduating with, or in jeopardy of graduating with less than 25. And with that, each subject area has specific credit requirements. So you can see those details up there. And again, we're working with your son or daughter to make sure that they are meeting those requirements for graduation. And even if your son or daughter has a free period every year, they're still going to meet the 25 or more credits. And even if your son or daughter has a free period freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and senior year decides to have 2 free periods, he or she is still going to meet the requirement of 25 credits. But again, rest assured, we are working with your son or daughter very closely to make sure that they are on track to graduate with 25 credits.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christine Tallarico. Once deemed extracurricular activities, these experiences are more accurately rephrased as co-curricular. These practices help students develop skills in a safe environment that can lead to a greater sense of belonging, leadership, and purpose, as stated in a recent Huffington Post article. Generally speaking, co-curricular activities are an extension of the formal learning experiences. These activities are just as important as academics. They both complement each other to develop a balanced student with more skills than the one who only concentrates on their book work. Education should go beyond the 4 classroom walls. Studies have shown that students who participate in co-curricular activities have a marked improvement in their grades. This can be attributed to the skills they learn as better time management, better organizational skills, and a boost in their self-esteem. Skills learned in clubs and team sports can be applied in the classroom also, as students learn communication skills and how to work successfully in a group. A student quickly discovers how to incorporate their club and sports activities into their school life and allocate enough time for each. They learn how to plan out their day and include study time and activities time. Such a student may also be less likely to procrastinate. Students learn new skills that are useful in their school life and day-to-day activities. Students learn teamwork, better social skills, and critical thinking. According to studies, students who participate in co-curricular activities were found to have enhanced leadership skills and learned how to relate better with their peers. As they pursue different activities, our students will meet and spend time with new people, forming friendships. As they interact with those of different or similar interests, they may learn new things, as these new friends may see life from a different point of view. Students who engage in co-curriculars are exposed to a wide range of new activities, such as sports, painting, drama, scouting, and singing. The aim of education should be to develop a student in all aspects. This includes the student's intellectual, social, physical, and emotional capabilities. It is important to impart education that not only focuses on academics, but also lets children discover and develop their areas of interest. Thank you.
Good. It is me. Hi, good evening. I'm PJ Washenko. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about academic success. And it's no secret that, your students attending class on a consistent basis, keeping up with their homework on a consistent basis, that's what's going to help them develop that comfort within their classroom, help them develop the comfort for that classroom environment as well, what that teacher's expecting, and just, what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. So it's, sometimes it's, it may be a class that they're not necessarily comfortable with, but, we want to encourage them to really embrace the classroom experience and really engage with their classmates, engage with their teacher, and really take advantage of what that class has to offer, because with every class, it's going to be a different experience, but it's a learning experience within each of those classes. So we want them to be there. We want them to have different experiences. We want them to really take advantage of what their teachers in their class has to offer. Timely completion of homework, and this is something that we run into on a consistent basis, where we see students coming in and they're falling behind, their grades are faltering, and we're finding out you haven't done the last 4 homework assignments. Of course you didn't do well on that unit test because you're not keeping up with the material, or they don't have the proper study aids to get ready for that unit test because they haven't been doing the homeworks that their teachers are expecting them to do along the way. So really encourage them to stay on top of that. Developing those good, study habits as well, maybe even a routine that they have. They're going to be here for a long period of time in the day. Maybe they need a little bit of downtime at home before they actually start their homework, or maybe they have their work time right after dinner to sit down and actually devote some time and attention to their homework, because the work, it does increase. We get mixed responses from, our students that, I have, an hour's worth of homework every night, or I have 2, I have 3. A lot of it varies on the types of classes they're taking, the type of workload their teachers are expecting them to do, and how much work that they need to complete on their own independently to then bring back that next day. So it's important to look at their schedule, see what they're able to take on, know their co-curricular activities, their other types of obligations they might have. Will they have time to devote the time and attention they need to their classes to really be successful? And success is defined in many different ways, but I guess to really feel good about how they're performing within those classes. The student handbook has so much information in there, and to really kind of give them an understanding of what the school policies are, expectations, but also the attendance is kept very closely in all the classes. I don't want to go into too much depth of the attendance, but if they start to miss classes, that's something that they do track, and they could eventually lose credit in those classes. But they have to miss a fair amount of classes for that to happen. We have people that do checkpoints along the way as well to give them a heads up or a warning that they're kind of developing some habits in the morning and they're missing some time, and they need to kind of get up a little earlier, or just kind of push through that morning grogginess and really get here to be here on a consistent basis. An organizational system, and that's going to be different for everybody. Me, myself, I like to have a nice, physical copy of a planner to write everything down, to know what I have to do that night. So many of my students come in, they open up their laptop, and they have the little Post-it apps on their computer, and they just kind of show up and appear out of nowhere, and it tells them what they have to do that night. And maybe that works for them because they feel more comfortable having that as an option. So whatever it is that they have, it's something that, they have to feel comfortable with and should do on a consistent basis. And that's also something that you're able to check as well along the way. So if they say they don't have any homework, you'd say, well, show me your planner, show me your to-do list, or show me the work that you were supposed to do tonight. So that way they did what they were supposed to do, and they can hand it in the next day. Extra help, conversing with teachers. Ms. Spore is going to talk about that in a bit, but encourage your students to ask questions, to not just have to take it all on themselves. I have a lot of young students that come into my office and they'll say, I'm in the high school now. I need to be more independent. I need to do this myself. That's not the case. We really want them to embrace the resources around the school, embrace the adults that are going to be working with them, for the next 4 years, the teachers, you guys as well. I met with a student today that, just flat out told me, I don't have good student habits. I don't know what to do. And I said, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to reach out to your teacher right now. We're going to tell them, what we talked about just now. We're going to set up a conference for you, later this week, and we're going to get this work done that the teacher wants to get you ready for that test, that you're going to take next week. And they're like, I didn't know you can do that. Yeah, we do that all the time. We don't broadcast it, but, we want to be able to help you. So encourage them to come in and see us. But, really, there's a lot of people here that truly do care about your students that want to help. So we want to make sure that, we can be there for them along the way. The technology piece, the emails, Schoology, the Power School, a lot of it is all electronic. You can see it all online in terms of the assigned work, or where to turn in the work, or where the grades are at, or was that assignment posted. We want your students to check their email regularly. We do send a lot of emails, notifications along the way for information. We want them to know, at any given point of the year. The Power School piece, to constantly check the grades. If they get very, grade hungry or grade dependent, we've seen the Power School piece kind of backfire a bit, because it's all at their fingertips now. They can see their grades, they can see things change instantaneously. Encourage them to maybe kind of, pump the brakes a little bit, take a step back and maybe just check, later in the week before the weekend, so you kind of have an idea or a plan for what needs to be addressed for that coming Monday. But again, there's a lot here at the high school, but if it's managed properly in the right way, they can still have a lot of success and a lot of fun along the way. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leslie Spore, and I will be speaking with you about what you should do if your child is having difficulty in a class. There are numerous ways that you and your child can address this situation. First, we ask that you stay calm and you think about your reaction and how you will have a discussion with your child. It is this initial reaction and your response that they will remember most. Please realize that most kids do trip up, and ultimately they learn from the struggle. At Staples High School, students are encouraged and expected to make appointments with their teachers, to consult with one another, and get extra help if needed. Students can also visit one of the learning centers, which are quiet, teacher-staffed classrooms where they can get extra help or clarification. Sometimes the learning center is staffed by your child's own teacher, and sometimes not. Students have reported in the past that a different teacher's perspective has even been helpful. It is also in the Learning Center where your child can make up exams or quizzes upon absence. Students usually visit learning centers during their free period or through an academic support class. Together with your son or daughter, you can review Power School and Schoology to look at assignments and grades. Please limit how often you check Power School, as it can vary from class to class, as Mr. Wishenko referred to. And sometimes it can take a while for grades to be updated, depending on the class. Please refrain from texting your child during the school day if possible, as it can be distracting to your child while in class. So we do suggest, having those discussions at home. While we encourage the student-teacher communication first, as a parent of a freshman, of course, you can always email or call the classroom teacher as well. Students can make an appointment to see their counselor about a class that they may be struggling in. Together, we can often brainstorm an action plan and move forward. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deborah Slocum. We're aware in the guidance department that every transition brings up mixed emotions for parents. With every step forward, our children are inevitably moving away from the nest and toward independence. So it's normal to feel that twinge of fear about our increasing loss of control over their lives. Like poor Mr. Plunkett, I still remember my now 21-year-old child climbing on the yellow school bus for her first day of kindergarten. Would she enjoy and thrive in school, and would she have a friend to sit with at lunch? You still feel that feeling when your eighth grader is being dropped off at high school. But with the transition to high school, the stakes feel a lot higher. The discussions and the emotions are associated with that inevitable conversation about college. That word, that C word. So for parents, underneath the anxiety is the awareness is that as they grow older, they have less control and frankly, less knowledge about their daily choices and experiences. And it all just seems to matter so much more than when they were younger. But our end wish is actually the same as when they were 5 years old. We just want our children to flourish and be happy, even though we understand intellectually that there's going to be bumps in the road, academically and personally. It's life, and that's where the real growth occurs, is when they hit those and survive them and get over them. No one ever told you this parenting stuff was going to be easy. So, offering a little information here from the guidance department. First, you should know, if you haven't learned it already, that the corpus callosum in teenagers, especially ninth graders, is only partly developed at this age. And that's the part of the brain that inhibits impulsive behavior, makes good judgments, and focuses on long-term goals. And that isn't fully developed until the mid-20s. So as a result, teenagers tend to see things in black and white, tend to see things as either a success or failure. So it's hard for them to see the gray area in things. So mistakes are seen as failures, not as necessarily opportunities for learning. Teens define themselves through risk-taking. They're supposed to try new things, but sometimes they're not experienced enough and haven't seen enough of life to understand what the consequences of their behavior might be. So, when they send a Snapchat to their friends, they don't necessarily foresee that it might be forwarded on to others. In short, teenagers are not mini adults. And yet, a culture has developed where so much of the mistakes they made can be made public, and where everyone seems to expect them to be literally perfect from freshman year onward. So in guidance, we see increasingly anxious students who are worried about making the smallest of academic mistakes. And they blow the consequences of these mistakes out of proportion and believe that the adults in their lives will be disappointed in them. What they really need are adults who espouse clearly established values, set clear limits, and understand and trust that they'll be able to bounce back from their mistakes and grow as a result. With all of this in mind, we want to offer some ways to help and support your child. One of the most important ways you can do that is establish your home as a place where they can decompress. The school day is really draining. I know when I get home from work, I can't wait to just put my shoulders down and decompress. So if you've had to pay attention all day long in class and then keep up your mask all day socially, imagine if you want to walk in the door, the last thing you want to do is be peppered about questions on the results on all your tests and quizzes and projects and how everything has gone. Okay, so give your teens some well-deserved downtime when they walk in the door. Because if you walked in the door from work, I don't think you'd want to be questioned immediately on the results of your day. Don't respond, and you've heard this before, in a panic-stricken way if they decide they'd like to share with you that things haven't gone well, either on a personal way or on a test and quiz. I say don't climb on the roller coaster with them. They're looking for a calm, even response. If you feel like you might not be calm, ask if you can just take a moment and respond to it later. I used to just go into the bathroom and shut the door for a couple minutes. Worked for me. Establish a homework routine that works for your family. These are teenagers, so negotiate with them what works for them. Establish a location, availability of devices, when is Schoology going to be checked, when is Power School going to be checked. Be realistic about your expectations, communicate them, and then decide when future intervention is going to be warranted. You get to intervene if certain expectations aren't being met, but be clear about what those are going to be. Negotiate on the use of digital devices. The research is clear. Kids do rely on and need these devices for their social lives. At the same time, they, and I might add most of you, are probably terrible about turning them off at an appropriate time and getting enough sleep. So decide together when the turn-off time is going to be. The new research is you need a half an hour without the blue light. Invest in an old-fashioned alarm clock and make sure everybody gets enough sleep. And finally, keep your sense of humor. I was an avid reader of the old-fashioned Zitz cartoon strip when my son went through Staples. I needed regular reminders that my frustration was not unique, and the resulting laughter that I shared with my friends always lightened my mood. Nothing goes faster than these high school years. It feels like somebody pushes their foot down on the accelerator of time. Every day, try to remind yourself that these last few years of having your child home full-time are precious and fleeting. And now Mrs. Capozzi is up.
Hi, folks. I'm Victoria Capozzi, and it is always difficult following Deb Slocum and her great advice. So the Westport Public School System, along with our guidance department, fully recognizes and values that students have different learning styles, needs, and goals. These needs can be achieved by way of numerous pathways, and one of those pathways may be by way of attending a public high school in one of our neighboring towns. So could it be possible that there is a more fitting high school for your child? Perhaps your child will thrive in an environment that's more specifically curriculum-focused, applied, or hands-on. For example, at the Academy of Information and Technology in Stanford, students can practically apply their studies in architecture and engineering, biomedical sciences, business, fine arts, or information technology. Perhaps your child might thrive at West Hill High School in their agri-science program while studying animal or plant sciences. At the Center for Global Studies in Norwalk, students can obtain an IB, International Baccalaureate Diploma, while learning how to become citizens of our global society, and doing so via a hands-on, collaborative approach while learning either Arabic, Japanese, Chinese, and the cultures of Asia or the Middle East. At the J.M. Wright Technical School in Stanford, through focused, applied, and integrated lessons, your child can engage in real-life problem-solving by way of automotive technologies, carpentry, culinary arts, digital media, electrical, facilities management, health technologies, information systems, plumbing and heating, and tourism management. For our students who feel a passion for performance, they may wish to attend the Regional Center for the Arts in the afternoons. Students can attend Staples High School in the morning, during the morning rotations, and then the Regional Center for Arts in the afternoon. And lastly, maybe it's your child who would thrive in a school that prepares them for college, careers, and life in a maritime-focused environment. Aquaculture and marine trades are experienced via extensive exposure to on-the-water and water-related activities and coursework. So if your interest is piqued, I ask you that you visit the websites of each school for more detailed information. And in short, each school will have their own application process and are all college preparatory. Westport Public School would provide the transportation. Perhaps a visit is in store. And perhaps it is your child who will find the most success and happiness at a high school where the learning is focused on a topic that fills their spirit. Counselors at the middle schools, as well as us at the high school, will be happy to further discuss these processes should you wish to learn more.
So if your child is not currently attending Bedford or Coleytown, know that they are not alone in planning to come to Staples. Each year we have about 50, 60, 70 new students. Many of them are coming into ninth grade. We have a really nice system in place. So the first step would be, if you haven't already done so, to visit the district website where you can find online registration information. From there, you would contact our guidance department secretary, Fran Gerasi, who would provide some additional information that you would need to complete, along with scheduling an appointment with one of the school counselors to do registration in person. We have a new student and parent orientation a couple of days before the school year starts up in August, and do a really great job in helping to transition new students to the district. So just before the break, we had a great opportunity to welcome Harlan Cohen to Staples. Harlan is a well-renowned advice columnist and author of many books, and He travels around the country and mainly speaks about the transition to college, but I think we found that his message goes far beyond that and really applies to a lot of what we've been talking about tonight. It's that transition is really the one constant in our lives, whether it's in thinking about education or the career paths that we're on, our relationships, or simply moving from the city out into the suburbs. What Harlan talked a lot about in successfully navigating transitions were people, places, and patience. So finding the people who you connect with, identifying places where you can thrive, and maintaining a sense of patience that it may take some time and effort. So, and for the next few minutes, we're really excited to have a great group of ninth grade students here to speak about these themes and tell you a little bit about what their experience in their first year at Staples has been like.
All right. Thank you, everyone. My name is Max Schutze, and I'm a freshman. I first want to talk about my first day at Staples. I remember I was very nervous. My stomach hurt. It was so hard for me to get up. And I remember going on the bus and didn't even know what to think. And now I remember being at the end of the day and whew, I was so happy. I knew how to navigate already. I was so relaxed with all my classes, so happy to see all my friends over the summer, so happy to see introduced all the new people I got to meet, and just see all my friends in the cafeteria. And now I've gotten so far, and it was so great having like this past 6 months at Staples, and with like your kids might be very stressed out the first week, and that happens to everyone. All these new students go through so much, and it's really hard to change to such a big school. And you just have to understand that it's a lot to get used to. There's so much, but sooner or later, I got used to it within a week, but within a couple of days even, your students will already be adjusted and so excited for the rest of the year. Preparation is a really big part of Staples as well, because even though there are tests and quizzes, you always have to be prepared for the next thing that might come at you. There are a lot of things throughout the year, especially like after school curriculum, whatever it may be, and it's always good to, even if you procrastinate, you know that there are going to be some problems along the way, but you know you're going to get through them because you have 4 years at Staples, and there are some problems, but you know, with the help of your parents or your guidance counselors, they're always there for you. And the help is amazing. Even the teachers act as guidance counselors. They're there for you whenever. They always have your back, studying, extra help in the morning. It's great. They're always there for you. Even yesterday, we had a public speech about hate and all the things that are going around the world and how we can prevent it. And it was just great having even students talked about like what has happened to them, and we all got to talk about it and knowing how we can prevent hate and how we can fight it as like a group. And how I like to wrap up is just don't worry. There's a lot to come along the way, but it's a big movement, and you just have to relax and you'll get through it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cameron Mehta. I'm a freshman. Quick raise of hands if your student is nervous for Staples High School, and don't be shy, you can raise your hand. Well, I want to start off by saying it is completely normal for your student to be nervous for Staples High School as a ninth grader, and that's the first step in the right direction. Being nervous shows that you're excited for Staples High School and that you're well prepared. An example that I have is that my social studies teacher, Mr. Deitch at Bedford, in 8th grade would always tell us about if you don't do your essays or if you don't study for your test or read your book, that's not going to pass at the high school. And I always didn't really acknowledge that at the time. But as summer came to an end and Staples came around, that note from the back of my mind started to come around, and I started to get nervous about having to read a book from front to back. And that was a bit nerve-wracking for me, but it just showed that Mr. Deitch saying that to me, it made me nervous, but it also made me prepared for what was to come at Staples, and it made me very excited. It also opens up a lot of opportunities at Staples. At Bedford, there's a morning show called BAM, and I never really wanted to join the morning show because I was always nervous to join and thought I would get made fun of. But as I got to Staples, I've always had an interest in broadcasting, and the Good Morning Staples crew, GMS, I joined that, and once I joined that, I saw that Staples has so much to offer, but at the same time, Staples and all the classes let you open up and be who you want to be, and let you blossom out and do what you want to do. So that's really important with baseball, not baseball, I do play baseball, but what Staples has to offer. And a sport that I did play in the fall, cross country, that was really important too, because to be able to do an after-school activity is really important because it keeps you on a schedule. And I know when I'm not on a schedule, it'll be 7 o'clock, and I'll be playing Fortnite, and I'll forget that I had homework. So it's important to have that schedule, and not just having that schedule, but being an after-school activity makes you meet so many new people. I met 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and usually at Bedford, I would be friends with just kids in 8th grade that were a small group of kids. But when I got to Staples, I had a 12th grader talking to me, and I was like, wow, there's a 12th grader talking to me right now. And I was a bit nervous about that, but it gave me confidence. And being a 9th grader, you do need confidence as a student, and it's just the beginning. So you guys should take away that your kids are going to be very nervous, but that's completely normal. Thank you.
All right, well, hi there. My name is Taha, and I'm also a freshman, and I'm from Bedford Middle School. So I distinctly remember this time where I was super nervous about the high school experience. There was a surge of emotions going through me. So I condensed my speech down to 3 main points, which I feel are essential and all parents should know. Number 1 is time management. I know that my parents emphasize this like crazy. They said, when you get your first assignment, do it straight away. I know that a teacher will assign like a packet on Monday and say it's due Thursday. Please tell your children to do it on Monday night or then. Because from the time from Thursday, they're going to get hit with some more work. So make sure that you nip your homework in the bud and make sure you get that. And another thing is, I get it when you come home, you want to relax and stuff. I agree with that. But just try and make sure your child doesn't spend play Fortnite till midnight or something. I see that as a real problem. I used to do that last year, but I learned from high school that it's serious and you should maybe try and do your work properly. And another story that I have is that midterm week hit me really hard, I think. I think that I wasn't really prepared well for it because of all the snow days and stuff that came in the middle. I knew it was coming up, and I said, all right, I'll study 5 days in advance. But the problem with that was that at that time I was making the study guides and stuff, so I wasn't really studying. I was just finding the material to study. So in my opinion, make the study guides and then study, and you'll be fine. And plus, teachers are always there, and the staff is really accommodating, which is really great about Staples High School. So my second point is the array of clubs that are here. There's so much here to do. It's insane. On the involvement fair, I signed up for 15 clubs. Obviously, you can't make all of these. Make sure you condense it down to 2. So as a freshman, I have a weird inclination, which a lot of people don't have, which is to politics and global affairs. So I really enjoy that. And not many freshmen are into that. And I went to Model UN and Debate Club. Mr. Brown's the advisor for that, by the way. So I went to Model UN, and straight away I was meeting kids in my grade who were interested in the same thing as me, and this was opening up new doors. And also then there were upperclassmen which I was making connections with, and this was opening up new doors, and I was meeting kids who were interested in the same thing as me, which was really great. And I'd never experienced that at Bedford Middle School, so I really like that about Staples High School. And my last point is the dreaded cafeteria scene. It's not dreaded, trust me, it's okay, it'll be fine. I get it, I was nervous the first week. I didn't know if I was gonna have any friends or anything in my lunch waves. And it is a little uncomfortable, but you just sit down and you end up becoming friends with new people. It's really a great experience, and it's good to be in the uncomfortable, and it teaches you how to cope with problems in the future, which I really love and like about Staples. So, yep, thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Papi Livingstone. I'm a 9th grader, and I went to Bedford last year. Don't worry, your kids are going to be fine. The middle schools prepare you, amazingly for high school. But that said, nothing could prepare me for the first bad grade that I got on my test. I usually am a really good student, but I think the second test I ever had at Staples was in Spanish, and I got a D+. And that is not normal for me. And I panicked, and I catastrophized, and I was freaking out. And I nervously went home and was really scared to tell my mom my grade. And I did, and instead of getting angry at me, or instead of her panicking herself, like you said before, she said, use your common sense, and she turned it into a lesson. So my mom advised me to use that bad grade and fuel all of that anxiety and all of that panic into learning from my mistake. So I met with my teachers, and I went to the learning centers. I came up with some new study skills that I hadn't focused on in middle school, and I turned my grades around because of that bad lesson. So just kind of a takeaway for you parents, I guess, is that if and when your kids come home with their first bad grade, don't panic, because they're already panicking enough. High school is crazy, it is insane, and adding to that stress isn't going to help anyone. Use that bad grade as a learning experience for them. Teach them how to manage stress and balance academics. Advise them to use the Staples resources, because I didn't know what a learning center was until like a month ago, really, and now I go like once a week. They're amazing. But most of all, tell them that slip-ups and setbacks are normal, they're expected, and they're required when it comes to improvement in high school. I can honestly say that I think that the entire tone of my year academically was set with my mom supporting me through my first bad grade and my second bad grade and my third bad grade and all of the bad grades I've had since then. I am a better student because of my mistakes earlier in the year, and I can proudly say that my mistakes have shaped me into a better student, and I think that's almost entirely thanks to my mom. So be that for your kids. Yeah.
So I think you guys are attending the last presentation by the school counselors. We are now going to turn it over to our 4 student ambassadors who will be presenting to every parent group coming through Staples High School in the future. Yes. So at this point, so Tom Brown and Deb Slocum are going to come on up, and the students and the 2 of these guys and myself will be glad to take any questions that you may have. We had one good one from the front that I think is something that is on the minds of a lot of parents, just in terms of kind of managing technology and how to check sort of that right amount, and also if you don't see information in there, what to do. So maybe some thoughts from both the counseling perspective, and I'm also curious how you guys have sort of managed that as well. So anybody want to?
Did you guys have an idea?
Yes, sir.
Wait. Well,
I'll start.
I think she brought up a question about Power School.
Yeah, so this was your question before, right? Was when you go into Power School and you're sure? Yeah, of course.
I'm telling you, really almost never. But there was some homework glitches, not getting a couple of assignments in. So that was the deal. Just homework has to be done. Grades aren't even that important because the homework's the part about getting the grades, right? So a few glitches here and there. But when we checked to see how we're doing this semester, once or twice, and they're not there, it's not entered, and it's that. So when the semester ends, which just ended, I think, will it reflect any missed assignments still once the final grades are in? So that's number 1. And number 2, do teachers have protocols where they do lag? And what should our expectations be about teachers for homework assignments, particularly? Not grades, homework.
Sure. So the question was, when you're using Power School and looking at homework assignment grades or homework assignments and tracking whether or not the homework assignments are complete, is that something that is there a protocol for how teachers do that, or is there something that should be expected by parents to make sure that what they're looking at is accurate and up-to-date information, right? So depending on teachers, you'll kind of, and students, when I talk to them, you guys can correct me on this if you want, but find that they get to know their teachers' rhythms. And some teachers are very quick about doing homework and and some teachers are not. And some of that depends on, they might do a homework assignment every single night, and some teachers might have one assignment for the week. So it really depends on how much homework they're giving as to how quickly they can turn around grading those assignments and putting them into Power School. What I encourage my students to do, and parents when they call me, is one, I make sure the parents actually ask their student first, can you tell me what's going on with this homework assignment? And if the student says, I turned it in, I swear, and it's been 2 weeks and they never did anything, I encourage my student to talk to their teacher and find out what's going on and get the information, so student first. And then if it still seems to be an issue, I would encourage you to email the teacher directly and say, hey, I'm just checking in, I looked at the grades, I'm really understanding why there's no homework assignments in, can you just let me know that they're there? Anything you guys want to add to that?
Well, I started out this quarter in Italian. I did not hand in a homework, and my grade was an F. So that's how I started out the quarter. Awesome job by me. And so as the quarter goes on, you see that F right there as your grade, and then you have all these homeworks and all these quizzes, and it kind of really comes down to the teacher and when they want to put that stuff in. But don't worry about the grade at the time. It really all comes down at the end of that quarter about what your grade is going to be, because all those assignments are going to get put in, and it matters about your grade at the end of that quarter. Because my grade is not an F right now in Italian to end the quarter, because all the grades start to get put in, and you really have you can't really worry about the grade at the time, and it also depends on the teacher.
And also, like right next to the grade, you can see the teacher's name. And if you click on the teacher's name, it has their email and everything and all their contact information. So you can just email them and just write like maybe like there's something wrong with my son's grade. Like I see like maybe with Cam, like he had an F in Italian. But maybe what can he do to make it up if he didn't do it? Or like not saying that like this happened or anything, but like maybe what he can do to make it up. Or if he hasn't actually done it yet, he can turn it in, and then the grade will be fixed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is. Kid's job.
Other questions? Yeah, do you guys have any other questions? Okay, one in the middle.
And then there's one over here, Vic.
When do you find out about after school sports and when you can sign up? So that'll be, do you want to say that? It's through the PTA, right?
May depend on the sport. If it's a fall sport, that would be something you would want to be tuned into over the summer. I think the best resource is often older students. So if your child is friends with students who are currently playing the sport, that's best, or can sort of start to navigate those connections. There will be information online. There's the website where you can find the coach's contact information if they're not already connected to any other players. But a lot of times before the official tryouts take place and before the season might begin, some of the players might be getting together and just sort of practicing or playing informally over the summer. So that's something that you would just want to make sure that they're a part of, if possible. Obviously, if you have commitments over the summer, if your child's going to be attending camps or doing other things, that's okay. They're not going to have that held against them. But as much as they can start to participate and join the team, even on an informal basis, the better. The other sports that occur in the winter and in the spring, typically there's a meeting after school that'll be well publicized, where there'll be announcements made, there'll be emails that go out that say anybody who's interested in boys track, there's going to be a meeting after school in the cafeteria at 2:30 where the coach would be there and kind of go through the expectations. Clubs and activities work a little bit different for the most part. Those are things that students can sign up once they get back to school. Usually a few weeks in, we have what's called the involvement fair, where there are tables outside the cafeteria and students are able to sign up for 15 or 2 or however many clubs and activities they might be interested in joining. A lot of students do join or at least sign up to join a whole bunch, kind of try a few out, maybe see how it goes. Depends on the club, how often they meet, and how much of a commitment is. So some students might get involved in a whole lot and know that each one of those commitments may not be so great, and then other students may only take part in 1 or 2 after school activities, whether it's sports or players or a club, just because those entail a little bit more time.
I was just going to add that for some of the fall sports, you can go to the Staples High School website now. It'll take you to maybe boys swimming, or girls soccer, and you can add yourself to the email for that particular sport, and you'll get updates. So that's what I direct kids to do, and that way you'll be on the actual email list for that particular sport. Yep, and there's also registration online. It's a little bit early for that now, but that way you would get actual emails. So the question is about the learning centers. So the learning centers, and I think I'll have one of the students speak to it, but they are available from during school hours from 7:30 to 2:15. So we have an expert here in the learning centers.
Learning centers, pretty much you go in during your free or your lunch or whenever, and there's a teacher there. You sign in on a sheet, you say why you're there, so you can take a test or you can do studying, or the teacher can tutor you. Essentially, at least in the case of the Math Science Learning Center, which I have frequented a lot this year, it's kind of like free tutoring because, yeah, it's essentially free tutoring. You can get a qualified English math teacher to walk you through your homework or go over your study stuff. Also, you take your tests in there if you have to make them up and stuff like that. So it's like a nice, quiet, hyper-focused learning environment for if the library is too loud for you or the cafeteria. It's a really good place, like the people places, but it's a good place to get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. So I really, really recommend it, and tell your kids about it now because it's kind of like a hidden gem. So yeah.
Where? Oh. Okay. So how late do after-school activities and sports run typically? Based on the sport, but usually it's you can be about 5 o'clock for most sports, or 3 to 5. Clubs, Model UN ends at 3:30 at the latest, but it depends on some clubs are volunteer-based, so if they're doing things in the community, it might go later than that. But generally, there's not going to be many things aside from maybe theater that would go after 5 o'clock. Oh, and there's a late bus now. That's right. We just started a late bus this year. So if your students do need transportation, there is a late bus. Question?
So apart from asking our children what they think, how can we get a good idea about which clubs are good and what's great about them? Because my experience of middle school is I'd say to my daughter, hey, you should try this, what about the theatre, what about the this, that. She'd go, oh, that's boring, I don't want to do that. I've got no real way of knowing what I should push her.
Oh, you got this.
How can the parents participate and get a bit of a feel of what clubs are good?
Well, you just used the word, the words. The question was, how can I learn more about the clubs for kids, and how can I get my child to be interested in a club? Well, first of all, you used the words, push my child. Immediately, I went, uh-oh. Because I'm going to ask the kids here, but if it's your idea and you're pushing your child to do it, as a counselor, I'm going, that's not going to work. Because the whole idea behind the club involvement is that the students would walk around and choose something that they're interested in. As counselors, we think it's important for kids to be involved in something in the community, but it's got to be driven by the student's interest. And that's the only way it's really going to work. But maybe you guys could talk about how you found something that really interested you. Let's pass the mic.
So pretty much I'm into programming, and I think I find that really interesting. So I think in October there was the club fair or something, and it's around the cafeteria, and there's posters from juniors and seniors. They pretty much make a club, and they have to get a teacher to sign off and other students to start clubs. Even one of your kids can start a club. And so pretty much they have all these posters and everything, maybe information about the club, maybe candy just to intrigue you about the club, and pretty much students will go around during lunch, see what interests them. So for me, I was looking for in my mind, I want to do something with programming. So I went around, I'm okay, the programming club, right here, perfect. So I pretty much wrote my name down, my email, and boom. And then there was a gaming club, that could kind of connect. And I pretty much signed up for a couple clubs. And then I got an email. I'm okay, I'll see what I go to. So I went to the programming club, and I really enjoyed that. And it's okay, every Monday I'll go to that and see how I like it. And I still do that every week. And it's pretty much all up to your kid what they enjoy, and seeing what they might want to do later and what they just enjoy, maybe for like school, if they want to do like something that might help them, or up to the student, really, up to your kid.
Yeah, so I mean, my parents, obviously they pushed me in a lot of clubs, but I only went into the ones, and I'm committed to the ones where I'm passionate about it. For example, like debate and stuff. A lot of parents think their child should do that for sure. I feel you're only going to be successful in the club if the child actually enjoys it, and they'll only excel in it if they really like it. So I feel like try and let them decide their passions and pursue them further out of school.
Kind of just adding on to what they said, you don't have to just join a club to join a club. It's good to be in an after-school activity, but I think it also comes down to the interest of your child, and you don't have to be in a club, and the club's not really, like, certain clubs are more serious than others, but they meet once in a while. There's some meetings that you will be aware of, but it's not like, you know, a huge deal. The club rush is really fun to be involved in, and it really comes down to the interest of your child.
I agree with everything that they said. Also, a good way to, like, if you have something that you want your kid to do, it might not end up happening, but going through the club, there's like a list of clubs on the website. Going through that with your kid and like writing down the ones that sound interesting to them and the ones that you think might be good for them, that's really good. And then you can narrow it down from there and find those clubs at Involvement Fair, whatever it's called. Also, at least in my case and in my friend's case, the clubs that you start off with in the beginning of the year tend to not be the ones that you end up with. I started off going to like a bunch of different, like, really fun, cool, creative, awesome clubs, and not really doing any of them anymore. I'm at Inklings until like 5 every day. It's crazy. So, you know, might not be the answer you want to hear, but your kid's gonna do what your kid wants to do. Like, ultimately, like, but going through the club catalog with them, I wholeheartedly recommend, because it kind of makes your kid think ahead of time what they might want to do. So I recommend that.
Can I say one thing? Just one thing that I would like to note that's been happening more that I've noticed and I appreciate is a lot of students get in the mindset that the involvement fair is their only chance to join a club, and it's really not. Clubs are joinable at any point in the school year, and so as a club advisor, I've had a few parents reach out to me or students come by my office and say, hey, can I still join your club? They're like, yeah, of course. Like, come on, let's do it. So just keep that in mind too. If it's like halfway through the year and your students are having trouble finding a club they like, and they're like, oh, I think I might do this one, but it's too late now. That's where you can be like, no, it's not too late. Mr. Brown told me, go talk to somebody and they'll get you in there. So.
That's like really.
Oh, one more thing.
Have your kids ask older people at Staples what clubs they like and which clubs are worth it and stuff like that. Right. The only reason that I'm involved with Inklings and stuff like that is because I got a random text from an unknown number of an upperclassman I talked to once in middle school saying, come to a graphics meeting, we need people for graphics at Inklings. And now I have a position there like 4 months later. So have them talk to older people, or else they're not going to know like what's worth it and what is, what they're going to like. So.
Nice. Questions? Ms. Capozzi, anybody? Questions? We got one up front here.
Yes, so between today and tomorrow, they'll be in a group with all the students from their school who's assigned to their counselor, and then in June, yes, we'll be meeting with each of our own students individually just to review their schedule, if there were any issues or if they may not have gotten a popular elective that they had chosen, try to find a replacement, just kind of get to know them a little bit before heading into the summer. So but it's great that we are able to see them twice before they even step foot into Staples High School and at least get a little bit of an introduction. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure. So the late bus started up a couple months ago, and it picks up students here at 4:45 every day, and there are, I think, 5 stops around town where it will take students. So whether it's for a club, so they need to stay after for Model UN, or they're meeting after school with a teacher and need to get extra help, or we have some students who, once they leave Staples High School, it's really difficult to get homework done. So staying in the library or just finding a space around the school, that's kind of a good structured, quiet place to get some stuff done, and then you can take the bus home and get on with the rest of your night. So I don't know if you guys have had any experience, or if you have friends who are okay. So yeah.
Will you be presenting this where the kids show up and talk to the 8th graders about your experience? This is such a great way of staying in it. If I tell my kid, oh, there's lots of kids and give lots of extra help, and you'll get experience that hasn't worked.
Sure, right, yeah. Well, and we experience that as counselors too. So yes, today and tomorrow we have student ambassadors who are coming with us. So the question was, are the current 8th grade students going to be hearing this perspective? And yes, they are. So along with us, we the way that most of us, I think, sort of approach our group visits over the course of today and tomorrow, we introduce ourselves and then we kind of get out of the way, because we realize that the students are much more interested in hearing from current Staples students about their experiences. So yes, our student ambassadors come with us to each of those visits. So probably have time for one more question if anybody's got a burning one. Yeah.
Could you just talk a little bit more about the lunch and the ladies?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the question was about how does lunch work? Okay, so we'll get like what is available for lunch, and then the whole process of how lunch works.
Yeah, so it's really confusing. I still don't really understand how it works. Usually I just ask who's in my class, like what lunch we have that day, but pretty much your classes rotate every day, and depending on what class you have during the selected lunchtime, you'll have one of 3 lunch blocks. So when I have science, I have third lunch. And when I have English, I have second lunch. And when I have global, I have first lunch. Yeah, so that was mostly a lie, most of those. I was just making that up, but But yeah, so pretty much you check your app or you ask a friend and you know what lunch you're in. And so 1/3 of the school will be there with you. And you have 30 minutes to eat unless you have science, and then you have like 15, which is terrible, but it's okay. Yeah, and so you're with different friends every day, but usually either you have 1 or 2 friends that you already knew in that lunch, or you make friends because it's circumstance and you have to. So yeah, it's not that bad, and the food is great, so yeah.
Well, Papi just said there's something called lab lunch. So you don't get the full time to eat because it's like third lunch, but it's not third lunch. You have to stay longer because it's 15 minutes. It's a lab, I guess. You have to stay later for science. But lunch is actually really fun, and it's not confusing. So whatever lunch you're in, the bell will still ring, and your kids will know that they still have to go back to that class. If they have first lunch, then they'll go, let's say it's global themes or social studies. It's really easy, and like you said before, the food's amazing. You'll know where to sit. It's awesome.
Definitely. And sorry, one more small thing about lab lunch. Especially with a lot of kids won't even have lab lunch, and I know I already have it. And it's like some kids, it might take a little weird, and they might not really know where to go. Yeah. But you already have friends, and especially older classmen, which it's kind of surprising. I was surprised how many older kids I met this year, and they already went through it. So it's they already tell you what to do and everything. And it's pretty much yep, you get you 15 minutes for lunch instead of 30 minutes for the lab lunch. And then about the food, I just wanted to add a little more with the food. The food is great. There's so many different choices, and I remember from middle school. Sorry guys, but Staples is much better. The food is the variety of food is there's much more. I know some days, I'm not sure what day, there's sushi and everything. Sometimes they'll have hamburgers, switch it up, and I know they have ice cream. Oh my god, we're kind of just bragging now, but it's amazing. And oh yeah, and the lunch ladies are great. There's if I were to explain it, you go in one entrance, and then there's these the cash registers where the lunch ladies are behind, and there's around 6, so it's fast moving line, and pretty much you'll go in the line, hold your food, type in your PIN, and pretty much you're on your way. They said to look at your food, put it in, and then you have to. Then there's money in your account, or you can pay with cash. I think the money in your account is much easier.
Yeah, so honestly, just for the schedule, just get the app. Like it's a lot easier. You pull out your phone, and it says you have 5 minutes left and lunch, and then it's a lot easier. And it has every single schedule like personalized for each person. It's a lot easier. And also today there were churros at lunch, so I'm just saying.
There were?
Just to get like a scope of what the food is like, one day I saw someone who had a plate of sushi and then a little portion of pasta and then like frozen yogurt, and like that was their lunch. So like you can do that. I don't advise it, but like there's so much great food there. It's amazing. Yeah.
Are we just okay, cool.
And your kids might be spoiled from the lunch at school because of how so much there is. So when they come home for dinner, they might be expecting something great, but you do not have to give them anything amazing. So,
So perfect parting wisdom there. So thank you guys. You guys are amazing. So and thank you everyone. So you got an evaluation form on the way in. Please take the time to either to complete that and leave it on the table on your way out, or you can complete it online. Thank you very much for coming. Have a great night.